Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the ThePCelititst. My name is Woodsie. I'm doing a video alone today. I'm thinking I'm going to start doing reply videos to our comments. Not because I feel we need to reply to them. Well, I do feel like we need to reply to them, but because I think that we actually do have a very thoughtful base of people who listen to this channel, and I think it'd be good to highlight those comments. Especially ones that not just agree, but some that don't agree and bring up good points, and also forward the discussion, as this channel is supposed to be more discussion based. I mean, it's in the format of Shepard and I having a discussion, but I like to continue the discussion. I think this will help facilitate that, so you can expect a lot more reply videos where I go through some of the comments, make some points that I think add to this entire discussion. Okay, so I just wanted to add before we get into that the footage you're watching for this video is a Portal 2 mod that you can find on the workshop in Steam that was developed and made by our very own community member, Spitfire19, and he also runs our unofficial ThePCelititst unofficial group on Steam. It's an official, unofficial group kind of thing. But Spitfire, good job on the mod. I'm enjoying it. And I invite you to all, please go and download it and check it out yourself. It's called A Companion's Tale, and I'll also put the information in the description of the video. All right, so let's get to some of the replies of our last video, which had to do with the discussion of video game violence. Let's go right to PC Gaming Standards. He was one of the first people to leave a comment, and he said, "I'm not a fan of discussing this. I think the very act of defending it lends credit to the idea that video games may be part of the cause. The people that are committing these mass murders are ill. They have mental conditions that predispose them to violence and a general lack of empathy/emotion required to kill like they do. People become emotional, they seek something to blame because it makes them feel better and helps them cope with their grief. Games are just an easy target." Now, I agree completely with the second half of that comment. I do want to make a point, though, when it comes to discussing something like this. There's an old saying that I kind of have a credo of in my life, which is silence is equal to agreement. And I think that applies to not only in personal life, but I think it also applies in these more macro matters. And as a community member, as a PC gaming commentator of some rapport, I guess, I mean, we have people who follow us, I think it's not only required of us, I think it's something of a duty to say something about these issues, especially when they're highlighted by the mass media as a whole. Okay, not that anyone's going to come looking to us for answers in the mass media, but I think as a community, it's important for us to all say something. I'll give an analogy that I think fits here. If you were at a party a room full of people, and someone was saying something terribly racist, just throwing racist firebombs left and right, it would be your duty to say something. If no one says anything at the party to this guy, he's going to walk away thinking that what he said was okay. And actually, realistically, if only one person says something and everyone else, no one else takes a side, then the racist guy, is going to think the guy who said something was just a jerk. And he's going to continue to believe what he thought. But if the entire room, the entire community of that room says something, then he might think twice before he says something again in the future. Or maybe, just maybe, he might think differently or maybe reevaluate some of his beliefs. So I think it's important as a community to all say something. Even if we're covering ground again, I don't think that should keep us from doing it. There's another comment, Max Kills Babies. He was replying to PC Gaming Standards, and he says, "I actually agree. Total Biscuit, Bunny Hop Show, and even Penn and Teller's bullshit have utterly decimated this non-argument to the point where even bringing it up is laughable. I believe I just addressed that. I love this channel, thank you, but this issue is beneath them at this point. By the way, a verifiable fact about all these school shootings have in common. video games being the least popular violent form of media being consumed by these killers. Another fact, they are all mentally ill. Let's move on. So for the first half is the same point as before. The second point, Total Biscuit, Bunny Hop Show, and Penn and Teller's bullshit. I am familiar with the Total Biscuit's video and opinions on it, and Penn and Teller's episode on this subject. I don't think they covered everything. And I'll go into why, and I think it's an important point, and I'm going to come to that in just a minute. But I want to say about the first that I want to say first that I don't defer, or nor do I ever plan to, with this channel. With all due respect, Max Kills Babies. I don't plan to ever to defer to Total Biscuit or anybody else or Penn and Teller to make a point for us. If it's an important subject, I feel we should comment on it. I don't ever look at, Total Biscuit's channel or any other channel and say, oh, they already talked about that, I don't need to talk about it. That's never been my MO, and I don't plan to ever start doing that. So maybe that's a little unfortunate for someone like yourself who watches all these things and doesn't want to see the same ground covered. But on an issue like this, where it is being discussed in the media, that it is important for our community to say something as a whole. Let me see. There's also some very good comments by Freakish PC. He has a funny story about him not letting his ex-girlfriend's kid play GTA at his house. It's very funny. I invite you all to go read his comment. I used to play WoW with that guy. It was really fun. Anyway, I have a greater point that I just wanted to raise, and I thank you guys for making your comments because it helped crystallize my viewpoint on not only this subject, but how I come at this subject. And I frame it like this. I think a lot of these guys have covered important aspects of this subject, which is statistical information of how video games relate to violence, to murders, okay? And we all know that there is no correlation, that there's no causation. You can't say that video games cause any of this stuff statistically, and that's true. What I would like to point out is that statistics only show what has happened. They show what has happened, but I want to delve more into why things happen. Why is it that video games do nothing? Why is it that we've come to this conclusion that they've done nothing? Now, I feel that there's a false premise that violence in games is a negative right away. That's what I want to point out. I kind of touched on it in the original video. And you might think I'm wrong. You might be a type of person that think media is a non sequitur when it comes to human behavior. I tend to think culture matters a little bit, whether good nor bad. And that's not to say that I think a video game will turn people into killers. I honestly do not think that. So don't push that, Don't think I'm inferring that. But I do think it can affect us in slight ways, support certain values or thought processes. I mean, we do it all the time. I mean, you don't see anyone smoking on TV anymore, barely ever. You don't see drinking on commercials, even though those are kind of ludicrous, like really out there ideas. I don't think that really reduces drinking. You do see, messages of protecting the environment more commonly, diversity in our media with television shows. So obviously there are good messages that people push out there that most people consider a good thing and that probably affects us. So I think if it can do a positive, it could also do a negative. But here's the deal. Now you might say, well, Woodsie, you're not going to tell me that violence in video games makes an effect. We know it's statistically untrue. I agree with you. But I think that violence is a neutral. I don't see violence as a bad thing necessarily. What I do see is a lot of violent games that have a very strong good versus evil narrative, where it's the soldier versus, World War II versus Nazism, which is a good thing. It's, currently we have like the Modern Warfare series. It's usually, the United States or UK or someone, some allied country trying to stop terrorism. Even though the narrative sometimes takes you into the terrorist side, though you are still, the entire story arc is we're trying to stop terrorists. In generally, I mean, you take most games, 95% of games are some benevolent evil force. So there's demons or aliens or what have you that just want to destroy us, and we fight back. So the idea that it's just violence, that initial premise that because it's violence it's bad, that's what I'm rejecting, and that's what I'm inviting you all to think about. Instead of seeing the statistics and just stop right there and go, well, video games do nothing, there might be something more to it than just video games do nothing. But we actually are promoting in general. Obviously, there are games that are outside of this, but really, most games are pushing a positive message of fight people who are trying to kill you, and fight the evil or the bad or what have you, and that I think is a good thing in general. So I think not only could you make the argument statistically, which is always important, but philosophically I think it's important to have a strong philosophical reply as well, that there is something more than just statistics, as if we can't see our own future and say, well, until the statistics come out, that we won't know what affects what. How would you defend video games if there was no data on it? Say they just started coming out today and people started playing video games, people were railing against it. How would you defend it on a philosophical basis? Or would you just say, well, we have to take a back seat until they figure out the statistical data, and then we could defend it. So that's the stance I'm taking on it, that I think philosophically games in general teach a positive message. Now, you could say, well, there's the GTAs and there's other games where you play the bad guy, and I think that's true, but I think overwhelmingly you have a positive good versus evil type of narrative in games, and I don't think that's a bad thing. And you might all disagree, but I have another saying. As I started with this video with a saying, I'm going to end with a saying. As we are discussing this stuff, I believe we should all focus on a saying, which is clarity over agreement. Now, I don't believe we're all going to convince each other, or I'm going to convince you if you don't, believe what I'm saying, but I want you to be clear on my point of view. I hope that you come to this channel that we have a very specific point of view. A lot of people like that we're called the ThePCelititst because we are announcing we have a point of view. And here I am announcing again, and you might not all agree, but I want you to be clear that's where I come from. I invite you all to disagree. This is the first of many reply videos I hope to do. We're going to have our next subject up in a few days. I hope you all come back to watch that. Please thumbs up this video. Comment if you agree or disagree. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do replies to the reply video. I'm definitely going to write in the comments and reply to you all. So please do that. Again, the footage is from our own Spitfire 19. Go check it out, A Companion's Tale. This is ThePCelititst. This is Woodsie at ThePCelititst signing out.